to October's Insist Pick aims to catch manufacturing and engineering professionals up with the latest news. My name's Dave Wheatley and I'm Sales Director for Wickings Engineering. We're a industrial racking manufacturer based in Worcester. Today I'm welcomed by three guests from the Mailing Group community. Firstly, I have Robin Hartley-Williams, who's the co-founder and CTO of Forgeall Manufacturing Analytics, and we'll be catching up with about how machine monitoring can help manufacturers with a rise of energy prices. I'm also joined by David Alexander, who's the Sales and Marketing Manager of Landers Tube Products. He'll be talking about Landers Award for being number one in the top 50 SME apprentice employer. And lastly, we'll be talking to Paul Hodgetts, who's a Business Development Manager in a Tincom training, who's going to be talking about the 200 apprenticeships that are up for grabs. So firstly, we'll go over to Robin at Forgeall Manufacturing. I was quite interested in his article about how monitoring machinery can help with being more efficient, which will enable us to drive energy prices down. So my question really, Robin, is as a manufacturing company myself, we measure all costs all the time, but obviously the immediate threat is to any manufacturer is the aggressive rise in energy prices. Can you tell me more about your business and how it helps identify inefficient operations?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So yeah, I'm Robin. I'm one of the founders here at Forgeall. I guess as manufacturers make more efficient use of the resources on their shop floor. So that's actually managing it and then optimizing it. And that's sort of all the resources you've got. So energy is a great example. The main thing for us is actually utilizing your machine capacity to the best possible way. Things like knowledge and skills on the shop floor also, you're getting the most out of them. I guess it's probably worth explaining a little bit of hardware we call our machining, which actually monitors the current consumption of a machine to manufacturers, and it has little current clamps you sort of install in your electrical cabinet, your machinery, and then to our platform, and we can give you a full description of what that machine's doing, when it's running, when it's not, throughout the shift, the time, and give you complete visibility 24 hours a day. So how that helps. So in terms of energy costs, one thing we notice is actually that many machines won't be running, so they won't be productive, but they're still switched on. And that's something we see time and time again. Simply switching that machine off can save you hundreds of pounds a month. So actually, it might seem like a small action. Have many manufacturers who we know what their machines are doing, and it seems to be a common pattern. So a really quick one is you can see when the machine's not running and go and switch it off. But it can help with understanding where your sort of bottlenecks are, removing inefficiencies. So one thing we do is we've got which can tell you which machines are running well, what your cycle times are, which have the biggest downtime, which are maybe above and beyond what you expect, and which may be better for focusing your efforts on. That's all from like the past. Got a tablet that we sort of put on the front of the machine, and that's where your machine operator can get involved. So they can book on and off work as well. So that helps us understand what the main reasons for downtime is. It waiting for job packs? Is it things like going and finding tooling? And we can also pinpoint actually which jobs is a specific part, which is bringing this up. Is it a specific part of the factory? A cell across all the operations. So yeah, energy is dead important, but I guess a pound is a pound. So leave some of the pressure on energy by actually making your production more efficient and saving money that way. Really keen to do.
Absolutely. I mean, we measure our productivity and efficiency levels all the time. We've got like a swiping software system, so we can see how busy the machines are. But does your software sort of interact with other software so that it can work in conjunction with it?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, the short answer is yes. What I think the manufacturer has a different combination of systems, and so for them to find something which will then plug a gap in that big project, which they have to undertake themselves, it can be long, it can be difficult. So because of that system, the Forge system works completely standalone. You can we ship the kit out to you. You can plug and play really quick, and it'll work completely standalone. So you can assess whether it is right for your business or not. We then appreciate that integrating with other systems is really important. So the first thing is importing and exporting into Excel. So I mean, it's a simple tool, but it's really powerful. And you can also import your work file or an Excel file. So let's say if you export a work list from your ERP system, we can monitor based on that work list you've given us each of those jobs as they go onto the machines. Starting to do ERP integration as well. We know that's massive for people. It can be challenging, but we actually delivered our first one customers, which was really exciting. And that's going to be a big part going forwards. And I guess finally, API, which is like a software interface. So that's where other software systems can talk to ours. So we've made it so that you can put it in, you can try it, with little effort and without. But then when you feel that actually you're ready to, you can then bring those integrations in when it's the right.
Brilliant. Sounds really interesting. So as an average, what would you say a typical like percentage or saving would be that you'd expect to save like a typical manufacturing company?
It's a good chat. So it depends. It does depend on the manufacturer. We monitor sort of increase in capacity because end of the day, it mostly comes from when you can use the same capacity. So we've got a case study that's just gone out with one of our customers, Armac Martin, who make handles and fittings for kitchens. They managed to increase their with Forge in their milling and their turning sections, which is absolutely amazing. We also work with a bank. They managed to improve by 11%. But I'd say in terms of like return on investment, it can cost. It's sort of done on a monthly basis. It can be between £20 and £100 per machine per month. That world, let's say £60 is an average hourly rate for a machine. That means extra time per month that we're able to get you. Then it's in basically, and all of the other product belongs to the manufacturer. So actually, that might be a single stoppage. If there's one stop that we can save, then it's paid for itself, and the manufacturer gets to take home the rest of the benefit, which is good. The final comment would be, actually, this is sometimes about a new way. When you get that visibility and that understanding and the ability to monitor what's going on your shop floor and really dive into it, go, this is just the way we run our business now. So yes, we're getting ROI and we feel we're getting the value of that. Like, this is a tool which we build our business around now. So we actually find that putting a pound, shillings and pence against it, because if you justify the pound, shillings and pence, and then you feel that it's taking your business up, that if we can do that for most manufacturers.
Brilliant, really interesting. Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much for that. We'll just move on to the next article that I was very interested in, and it was income training. So I'd like next to speak to Paul Hodgetts, who's a business development manager at Income Training. And the article that I was reading was to do with 200 apprenticeships which are up for grabs. And I just wanted to learn a little bit more about that. So firstly, congratulations on successfully finding a solution and to help bridge that gap between in this shrinking talent pool that I'm sure all find ourselves in. It's great to see that there's a large appetite for businesses to employ apprentices. But my question was really, do students have the same appetite to be an apprentice over being a university student, would you say? Sorry, Paul, I don't think we can hear you.
Yeah, thanks, Yasmin. I've been muted. Thanks, Dave. Yeah, so to going start of the question, we've got 200 vacancies live in the engineering and manufacturing sector for apprenticeships for the coming year, having already filled 300, which hopefully, in a simple word, answers the question that there's still very much an appetite to go into engineering manufacturing in apprenticeships, as opposed to straight into work or into universities. In terms of the gap and the article that we're discussing, we're always after more in this talent pool, in this sector of people that want to go down the apprenticeship route, and we work really hard to kind of bust myths in terms of apprenticeships being a lower level, second fiddle to degrees, because a lot of our apprentices come through and start on maybe a level 3 engineering apprenticeships or mechanical apprenticeship and progress on to level 4, level 6, end up with a degree, fully funded in 5 or 6 years, whilst gaining kind of work-based experience and learning off professionals who've got years and years of experience within their sector. So apprenticeships is a viable route. It's been taken up by a lot of young people around the UK, but all of us in terms of industry, colleges, providers, parents, it's just a constant education about what an apprenticeship can lead to, what it looks like, what levels there are, where you start, where you can finish.
Okay, brilliant. Do you find that getting people into apprenticeships is harder, and how can you make it more visible and make it more attractive to students?
First part of the question, is it hard to get people into apprenticeships? Two answers there. There's some young people who it's exactly what they want to do. Their father, their grandfather, their mom, sister went down that route, and there's a generational theme of getting an apprenticeship, and it's what they're wanting to do. They've worked with us for a number of years as part of our kind of open days and STEM activities and holiday activities, have a real thirst for engineering and manufacturing, and at 13, 14, 15, know that's the route they'll take. Then there's the other group of people who are totally unsure about whether an apprenticeship is for them, have all the cards on the table in terms of going to work, going to college, an apprenticeship or university. And for us, those activities that I talked about a moment, open days, seminars, webinars with schools and parents, trying to educate the Smiths on what apprenticeships are, to make them seem, well, to make them sure that they know their viable qualifications and routes into degrees or HNCs or jobs that they want, and making sure that they are employable at the end of the apprenticeships, that they can add value to companies and have competency as well as a qualification. And that's a constant education piece from our part, and not just our part. That's something that's happening in the UK by every provider, every college, every school, company who take on some of the companies that take on apprenticeships, they're massive champions. They do a lot of work within the community to sell and market apprenticeships, that they're a really good route for young people to go down.
Brilliant. Okay. So do you get, with that then, do you get like any resistance from sort of schools or higher education providers? I mean, do they want to direct people to university, or or are they promoting apprenticeships, and like do you find that sometimes they get in your way, and if you do, how do you get around that?
It's a really good question, Dave. So we are friends and partners with a lot of schools. So the answer would be no in terms of schools. in terms of what we work with. They've got an open door policy. We work closely with them, working with students who've shown an interest in the sector, and that apprenticeship would be the route to go down. Obviously, the schools that we don't work with, it's hard to answer that. That, in our opinion, maybe they could do more to make an apprenticeship a more attractive route for young people. And then the other bit to that is to make it not the second route or the third route for people. Premiership is degree, and then it's college, and it might be, and it goes down, and it's trying to change it. I think it's more, is it right for the individual, as opposed to having that pecking order of routes to go down. I didn't get into uni, so I might look at that. I didn't get into that, I might look at this. And that's the kind of thing we're trying to get rid of, because I think it's more about individuals as opposed to having a pecking order of routes to kind of progress onto after education. So in terms of universities, we work quite closely with a couple of universities due to the some of the levels that we deliver at in terms of HNC and degree. So again, we've got good relationships with the universities we work with, who champion what we're doing, because ultimately it leads to the same output as what they're doing, which is a degree in mechanical engineering or electrical engineering. Brilliant.
Well, yeah, it was a really interesting article. Thanks for everything you're doing for sort of bridging that gap, really. I mean, we as a business find that sometimes some of the old, like welding, for example, is an art that's slowly dying, and to bring on apprenticeships and sort of teach that back into, it's a really important gaps to fill.
Yeah, well, more thank you, because obviously we don't exist without industry, with companies that still look to upskill or bring in new talent. Welding is a great example of something that is a challenge. We have vacancies, companies who are really short of welding skills, or they've looked at attrition rates and they decide they need to backfill and bring people in. And welding is not the most glamorous of apprenticeships for people to go into. No. Something like a design engineer, CAD or metrology or quality, the cleaner side of apprenticeships is a lot more attractive for young people to go into. Yeah. So we work hard, really hard to promote welding as a career and a skill, purely because, like you say, it's a shrinking pool of people who have those abilities.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. Well, thanks for your time, Paul, on that one. I mean, the next article sort of carries on really with apprenticeships. I want to introduce David, who's the sales and marketing manager of Lander Automotive. Well done for being awarded this year's #1 SME apprentice employer.
Thank you.
How long have you been working with apprentices, and what difference has it made to your business?
Well, we'd always had apprentices in the business for a number of years, but normally in engineering posts or the like, and usually only 1 or 2 per year. However, in 2016, we started our manufacturing apprenticeship program, where we were bringing in approximately 15 cohorts of 15 apprentices every 8 weeks, and working through a classroom-based program before they went out onto the shop floor. So they did an 8-week classroom-based program before going out onto the shop floor and having been buddied and whatever. And then the actual program was a 2-year program overall. It really gave the young people an opportunity to work in manufacturing and to further their career and get a grounding in industry. And particularly in manufacturing, as I say, where they may not normally have considered that, as Paul was saying, possibly looking to get into a more glamorous thing, but it's an opportunity to get people in grounded, and it's given them a good sort of base level to go into to both within our business and in other businesses. One of the other reasons we wanted to sort of develop our apprenticeships and bring in younger people is that we had an ageing workforce. And we had over 51% of our workforce were aged over 45 before we started. and now we've got 51% under 40, which in itself has brought in new energy, new ideas and enthusiasm, and it's sort of given a lift to other people within the business as well, which is great. And through giving opportunities to them to develop within the business, we've also managed to save around about £180,000 in recruitment fees that we through recruiting substantive roles internally rather than using agencies.
Brilliant. So why do you think that Lander was chosen as number one apprentice employer?
I think firstly we're partly chosen because of our commitment to apprenticeships, and that's been clearly demonstrated over the last few years. We've won other awards in that time as well for our apprenticeship programme. But it's also that the data needed to be backed up. This was a government backed award, and all of the data needed to be verified by the Department for Education. And they looked at a number of different things, including the number of people starting and completing, and the progression they had to other levels within the business. They also look at things like ethnicity stats, where we had 42% of our apprentices coming from different ethnic backgrounds. They look at things like neurodiversity, where we had around about 25% of our apprentices requiring with different abilities and needing additional support. And then finally they look at things like disadvantaged backgrounds, and we've had around about 21% of our apprentices coming from disadvantaged backgrounds, including care leavers and things like that. So it's not just about the programme itself. You need to have the accurate data to back it up, and it's all been verified by the Department for Education.
Brilliant. Sounds like you're doing a great job. So what support's given to the apprentices at Lander then, and how many stay and like sort of move up in the business, and how many leave once they've completed their apprenticeship?
Okay, so we've recruited over 300 apprentices since we started the programme through the business, and with regards to retention, we beyond 1 year of the programme. Pre the pandemic, we were running at in excess of 80% were staying, which was great. Post pandemic, it's dropped a little bit to about 65%, which is still great. In terms of support, having such a diverse range of apprentices and some, as I said before, with additional needs, it's been very important that we've engaged with the apprenticeship provider and quickly identified what support is needed and what support they will provide and what support we need to provide. In terms of development, we've also been able to give additional development support to team leaders, such as coaching and mentoring as well, with other members of the team. And it's been really good, as I said before, for saving costs for recruitment fees, because we've really realised that the great talent pool that we've got within the programme, and over the past 6 years, we've been able to move around about 35% into substantive roles within the business, such as team leaders, welders, as you mentioned before, maintenance technicians, toolroom engineers, production engineering, quality, purchasing and HR. So it really has sort of helped to develop the future of our business by giving through the programme.
Brilliant. Okay, sounds very good. Sounds like it's definitely the way forward in bridging all of those gaps that we're finding in the marketplace.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, well, that's the review of the articles that I went through. I'd like to say a big thank you to the Made-In Group for having us on Editor's Pick today, and I'd also like to thank my guests, Robin, David, and Paul. Appreciate your time. Please make sure you check out the Editor's Pick, where the other editor will be taking you through top picks of the month. Thanks again, and goodbye.